What up, this is July from Kickback Couture. This morning I am going to be showing you how I made the beat Rush. Rush was one of my singles. You could check it out on my other YouTube page, July 303. It's a hip hop beat, so I'm going to start with the sample, the sample that started the beat. I got all these samples from Splice, by the way. I do not remember the names. Once I had that, I started arranging other samples within the beat, so I added this stab. Quick short phrase sample to accompany the guitar, and then the third sample was these chords that played during the hook. However, the one in the intro was a combination of the guitar and the chords. Whoops. And I put tape stop at the intro. And I did that with kilohertz, tape stop. So this is my old template. For those of you who will probably ask, I used this template in the beginning of 2017. This was my first mastering chain, so I'll go over that in a second as well. Another sample I had was this transition. I used it to get into the verse and out of the hook back into the verse. Sorry, into the hook and out of the hook back into the verse. And in order to vary them, I just pitched them different. So this is the regular transposition, and that is down an octave. A reverse vocal. The next thing I did was add this bass line. So rather than do an 808, this is what I did. And then that repeats. This beat is super repetitive, mind you, as that's what hip hop is. It's about repetition. And here's the hi-hat loop that I used. My kick. Wait, that's not the kick. The kick is down further. I apologize. Guitar, stab. Bass. My kick. Then this is the snare. First snare. Second snare. Sounds like I have a second hi-hat pattern in here. Let's see what that is. Nope, no second hi-hat pattern. This was before I got really clean with my template and started deleting stuff that I wasn't using. Another vocal here. So that is everything in this beat. I did do a little solo, but I didn't keep it for the the final beat when I did my song too. So yeah, to get into this mastering chain, what's going on is I have my audio running through an Audiomatic. The tape, and then I have the level to 7% just to give it a little taste. Transform is where it normally is. Then I have a mid to side EQ going. So mid to side EQ is essentially EQing the mid frequencies of the beat separate from the side frequencies. So if my beat was mono, then I would only hear mid frequencies, and the side frequencies give it a wider feel. So I can go ahead and solo those for you so that you can hear them. So this is the mid only. This is with the side. So make sure you're wearing headphones so that you can hear this. This is with the side only. This is with the mid. And what I'm doing with the EQs is carving out some mud. So at 250, I'm just reducing by about 2 decibels. And then here I have a shelf. So what I'm doing is raising the high frequencies just a little bit, about 2 decibels, starting at 6K. And that makes it sound a little brighter as far as the sides go. I wouldn't do that at all with my mid frequencies, because that's where my drums are mono. So that's where my bass is gonna sit, my drums and all that, and I don't want them to sound, too crisp based off what I put here. So if I want them to sound any kind of way, I do that in their own separate EQs as opposed to the master channel EQ. Following the mid to side EQ, I ran another EQ, and this just carves out some space for the vocals. And after that, I used a stereo imager. The stereo imager just made sure that everything below about 300 Hertz was mono. So I just turned this button down. Now, just a disclaimer, this is my old mastering template, and ideally you'll want to incorporate your EQ settings after your compression and limiting, because your compression and limiting will undo pretty much. It'll bring up all the levels that you EQ'd. It still works in a sense, but it's kind of working backwards. So keep that in mind. If you want to use this, I would rearrange it. And then right here, I have mid to side compression. So same principle as the EQ, except I'm compressing. So I compressed my mid to side both to have a gain reduction around 3 decibels. So I'll let you hear the mid by itself. And that is up here. Notice it never passes 3. Adding the side back, the side is moving a lot more because it's a lot quieter. The side I give more leeway to bounce up and down depending on what's going on. This is one of my favorite compressors that are in rack extension form, by the way. Following that, I have one ozone here that is in use. And that is in use just so that I can get my beat up to a decent level for taking it to the studio and recording over it, and leaving enough headroom for both the mixing and mastering engineer. I have a second one here just in case I ever need a second one. Anytime actually, if you're doing hard limiting, it's better to use two limiters to sound more transparent, as opposed to using one. So I'll show you. Now you see how I just crushed the dynamics in that. Rather than do that, I can just use 2. And you see this is already engaged and it's not crushed at all. So just a quick tip with that as well. So there is nothing in my bus master channel. This is the master before this master right here, the actual mixer master channel, final one. So if you like this video, give it a like, comment, subscribe, but most definitely let me know what you would like to see next. Once again, don't follow the order that this is on the screen. It's rerouted and wired in a different chain than what it looks like. So I would start with the Audiomatic, then move to maybe the stereo imager, and then the compression. I would do the limiting, and then I would go to these EQs, because the EQ is going to make sure that those frequencies get carved out at the end of the chain. But then again, it's always preference, so it's up to you 100% what you want to do, how you want it to sound. Chains are different no matter what. It depends on what type of thing you're working on. If you were doing vocals, it could be different in that sense. You might want to compress before the EQ to get the tone of the vocal right. So it's subjective and objective. It depends on you. So it's all culture.